From the dawn of time, theme parks have been outside. But times change, and today we have some elaborate parks in the comfort of a modern marvel we call air conditioning. Or, in other cases, central heating. If you know where to look, you can find some elite coasters in places that are open year-round, and the spectacle of being inside can add a lot to the ride. Today, I've gone around the world and found the best of the best. These are the world's greatest indoor coasters. Just a note, there's a difference between an indoor coaster and an enclosed coaster. Some parks have coasters that are enclosed, like Hershey Park's Laugh Track, or Kings Island and Kings Dominion's Flight of Fear. But this list is not about those. This is about coasters located inside indoor parks, and I found the 15 best in my opinion. Before we get started, if you can drop this video a like, I'd appreciate it. And if you're new here and love coaster rankings, please give me a sub. Also, a couple channel plugs. Airtime Thrills Raw Footage. This was set up for coaster YouTubers to find copyright-free off-ride footage. And Home Run Productions. This is my channel where I nerd out about baseball. Number 15. SpiderMan Doc Ock's Revenge at IMG Worlds of Adventure, a mock ride spinner. This park in the UAE has 3 good coasters. 2 inside, 1 going outside, and this one looks very impressive. Mock spinners are considered family coasters, but they can be surprisingly intense. This one has a train theme to Spider-Man and a train theme to Doc Ock, weaving in and out of buildings, spinning the whole time. And it's kind of a short ride, but that's often the case with indoor coasters. They fit this layout into a fake city, and that's pretty impressive. Number 14. Mission Ferrari at Ferrari World Abu Dhabi, a dynamic attractions SFX coaster. Part dark ride, part coaster. This was the first ever SFX coaster, where the train can move in all directions, interacting with screens and other theming. This also has 3 launches, a loop and a corkscrew, and this is one of those weird coasters that's enclosed and indoors, but that's needed to set up all its theming in the dark ride section. It's not very fast, it's less than 1,800 feet long, almost 45 miles an hour, but it combines good theming and good elements. Number 13. Predator at IMG Worlds of Adventure, a Gerstlauer Eurofighter. Back to this park in Dubai. Here we have a Eurofighter, weaving around its theming, rising up 72 feet, dropping at 97 degrees, 43.5 miles an hour, 3 inversions, a loop, a cutback, and a heartline roll. This has some clones out there, and if you've ridden Untamed at Canopy Lake Park, congratulations, you got the gist of it. Obviously, this offers a totally different experience inside with the surrounding elements, and it's a short but sweet ride. Number 12. SpongeBob SquarePants Rock Bottom Plunge at Nickelodeon Universe, a Gerstlauer Eurofighter. Like Predator, here we have another Eurofighter, but this one is about 200 feet longer and has an entirely custom layout. This one's inside the Mall of America in Bloomington, Minnesota, and it climbs a 74-foot vertical lift, drops at 97 degrees. It's got the same top speed as Predator, but this only has 2 inversions, not 3. This also has an overbank and a helix, and it's a very strong layout on a very small footprint. I had some issues with this being rough last time, but that only really came up when I rode in the front. That seems to be a theme with Gerstlauer Eurofighters. Number 11. Storm Coaster at Dubai Hills Mall, an Intamin LSM coaster. For years, we heard about the Polar Coaster, the 500-foot tower that has a coaster that dips around it, working its way down little by little. That never got built, but this seems to be a small version of that. This starts with a vertical LSM lift hill. The dome itself is only 164 feet tall, so this coaster rises up near the top, and it starts to wind its way down, going into 2 inversions. All this done with just lap bars, maxing out at 48 miles an hour, and for what it is, it looks like a lot of fun. It's hard to tell how good it really is. It's kind of gimmicky and seems to run kind of slow, but people seem to like it and I'll take their word for it. It definitely offers a unique experience through and through, and that alone makes this worth a visit if you're in Dubai. Number 10. Madagascar Mad Pursuit at Motion Gate, a Gerstlauer Infinity Coaster. Another indoor Gerstlauer, this one also in Dubai, and this one is much different from the others. This one has no inversions, so it only has lap bars, and it's got an LSM launch. This is kind of a spaghetti bowl style coaster. You got hills and twists and turns, totally dark except for the Madagascar theming. This is a longer ride, covering over 2,200 feet of track, and with that launch and unique layout, I have it over some of the other Gerstlauers we already saw on here. Number 9. Canyon Blaster at Adventure Dome, an Aero Looper. The Las Vegas Strip was graced with this park in 1993. What looks like a giant pink spaceship connected to Circus Circus, and its star attraction was a custom Aero Looper, Canyon Blaster. This fits perfectly in with this park, going over footpaths, going into a fake mountain, and bringing some insane intensity. To this day, it remains one of the smoothest aero coasters out there. It's 94 feet tall, drops straight down 66 feet, flies into back-to-back vertical loops, back-to-back corkscrews, and then a helix before it hits the brakes. It covers over 2,400 feet of track, fitting a full-size aero layout into this little dome. If you've had a bad experience with aero loopers, don't let that scare you away. Canyon Blaster is a different beast. Number 8. El Loco at Adventure Dome, an SNS El Loco. Right back to the Adventure Dome. 21 years after opening, they finally added another thrill coaster. This is SNS's El Loco model, this coaster taking on the name of the model, and it was made for this indoor environment. It's like a Eurofighter, but it's got sharper elements. This one starting with a 90-foot beyond vertical drop, 2 great hang time moments, Outer Banks. After all, it's an Alan Schilke design, so that makes sense. It does all of this with just a lap bar, and with those wacky angles, that just seems crazy, or loco if you will. This gives the Adventure Dome a very strong 1-2 punch to go along with all their quality flat rides. Number 7. Gekon Live Coaster at Tokyo Joypalace, a Gerstlauer spinner. Joypalace is an interesting indoor park in Tokyo, opening in 1996 with a spinning coaster from Asago International. But in 2011, they closed it down, called in Gerstlauer, and got something more modern. This opened as Veil of Dark, part shooting dark ride, part spinning coaster, starting with a tire-propelled launch, getting the train up to 23.6 miles an hour, only reaching 16.4 feet in the air, and having less than 1,000 feet of track. This is interesting because it was the first ever spinning coaster to go upside down, this having an inline twist. This was rethemed as Gekon Live Coaster in 2016, and the shooting game was modified, now described as a rhythm game. Coaster Studios described it as Guitar Hero on a coaster, so that's different. Number 6. Shred the Sewers at Dream Island, an Intamin LSM coaster. This park in Moscow, Russia opened in February 2020. Great timing, I know. And their star attraction opened later that summer. This is themed to the Ninja Turtles, starting off in a subway station, the ride kicking off with an LSM launch into a short course of 4 inversions, a loop, incline dive loop, corkscrew, and a heartline roll. It does all this going through a fake city, getting as high as 79 feet, going as fast as 50 miles an hour, and this looks like a very solid Intamin launch looper in a very obscure park in Russia. Number 5. Suponic Odyssey at Berjaya Times Square Theme Park, an Intamin looper. This park in Malaysia opened in 2003, and 9 months later, they opened their star attraction. It took 3 years to build, finally opening in late 2003, starting off with a heartline roll out the station, going up a booster wheel lift, 124 feet up, and dropping into a giant loop, wrapping around this bridge. This has one more inversion, a corkscrew, and it has some awkward moments, but it makes good use of its theming, flying through the mouth of a flower, covering 2,600 feet of track, and this is definitely one of the biggest indoor coasters you'll find. Number 4. Sys Blasting Bronco at Nickelodeon Universe, an Intamin vertical LSM coaster. When American Dream in New Jersey finally opened in 2019, there was one coaster that was left behind, a one-of-a-kind Intamin launch coaster, Sys Blasting Bronco. This has a tiny footprint, starting with an LSM launch, going into 2 Immelmans and a rollover, and then it does something I've never seen on another coaster. It goes back to the station, hits a turntable, and does the whole thing again backwards. I have never gotten to ride this. It seems to be down more often than it's up, but I'm looking forward to it this year. The forces look crazy, from the hang time, to the whip, to the gut punch of doing it all backwards. I love a unique ride experience, and this is it. Number 3. Epic Coaster at Doha Quest, a Premier Rides launch coaster. This looks like Premier's most fascinating coaster, starting off with a whole show inside the launch tunnel, launching you backwards up a twisted spike, 186 feet tall and claiming the title as the world's tallest indoor coaster. And then you got a fast-paced twisted layout, 2 inversions, over 1,800 feet of track. Its theming is a bit scanty, just flying through these neon hexagons. Some of these other coasters have much more elaborate settings, but this one has one of the more thrilling layouts, so it gets a higher spot. Number 2. Mindbender at Galaxyland, a Schwarzkopf looper. This is the only coaster on the list that's been taken down, located at the West Edmonton Mall in Canada, and definitely one of those parks that's inside because of the cold, not the heat. This coaster is infamous for a deadly accident that happened shortly after it opened in the mid-80s, but it was able to recover from there and lived on for 36 years. This is a Schwarzkopf, featuring those big, intense, round loops, 3 of them in total, the small one going around a bridge. This is full of diving drops and inversions, packing a huge punch, and everyone who got to ride it raves about it. 145 feet tall, a max drop of 127 feet, 60 miles an hour, and cramming in almost 4,200 feet of track. This closed in 2021 and was removed in 2023, and the coaster world lost a gem. Number 1. TMNT Shellraiser at Nickelodeon Universe, a Gerstlauer Eurofighter. Going back to New Jersey's American Dream, this got a lot of attention when it was announced, a near clone of Fuji-Q Highland's Takabisha, once the world's steepest coaster. Shellraiser would take that title now, featuring a 121.5-degree drop at 141 feet, but this is far from a one-trick pony. This is one of the most dynamic rides I've ever been on, and it's in my overall top 50. It starts with a dip and a heartline roll, then rolls into a launch that gets the train up to 62 miles an hour in 2 seconds, going into 3 massive inversions, 2 corkscrews, and a banana roll. Then it stops, goes up the vertical lift. You peer out the window, just admiring the Manhattan skyline, and you go into that record-setting drop, into 3 more big inversions before the ride ends. This ride has everything. It could use just lap bars and fix those potholes, but it's a great layout and has no business being inside, but I'm glad it is. It offers another elite coaster experience in the state of New Jersey. That's a wrap on the world's best indoor coasters. You can see a lot of these are in the UAE. They're dealing with the heat in the summer, so that makes sense. Same with Las Vegas. Then you got Edmonton, Canada and Bloomington, Minnesota, and those get some pretty bad winters. If you make your way to any of these destinations, no matter what time of year it is, you can ride some pretty great coasters. Let me know what you think of the list, how many of these you've been on and which one's your favorite. Before you go, don't forget to drop a like, and if you're new here and love coasters, please give me a sub. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time.